You got to have a lot of information and hopefully get some gold nuggets from this. But I want to welcome you aboard. You know, the syndication business is all about putting together dollars and deals, right? We're going to create these packages, and those packages are part of our wealth building opportunity for our retirement. We're going to live on the fees, but we're going to build these little packages. And there's two sides of this. You got the dollars and you got the deals. And I'm going to focus on this call just on the dollars and how we're going to raise those dollars for you. I want you to fully focus on what we're talking about here. A lot of people have fears of raising money. You've seen that, so fears. And so we're going to talk about that. I'm hoping at the end of this call, we've overcome some of those fears. I'm going to show you that you need a process to do that. But I just want to welcome you aboard and to jump in. And so the first thing I want to do is some of you guys are value hands that know me. I've been doing this for a while. But some of you don't know me. So I got a little bio there. You can take a look at it. But I also want to give you a background on how I got in this business. I pretty much got in this business like you guys did, right? I started off back in 1970s, early 80s. I was going to college, and I was studying a guy, one of the big gurus, so to speak, gurus about nothing down, right? And he was a big author. You can buy his properties, nothing down. And so I started doing that. I can hear some feedback in my ears here. I'm not sure what audio is going.
Working with a mentor or a coach is learning from their mistakes, right? So that you don't make the same mistakes. Patrick Duffy says, working alongside Mark in the acquisition.
So anyway, so I guess I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's some stuff in the background. I got started in Robert Allen, nothing down in the late 70s. Started to say, I got out of college in early 80s and said, I'm going to do this on my own. So I started my own real estate company trying to buy these deals, nothing down. I had no money, right? So I thought, what the heck, man, let's go try this out. And so I did, and I struggled in Southern California for about a year to 18 months, somewhere in that range. And I had some deals tied up, but nothing actually got closed. So I decided to get involved with real estate full time. I loved real estate, but I wanted to get involved with a more sophisticated approach to real estate. So what I did was I got my real estate broker license, and I started working for a local regional commercial property company called Norris, Beggs & Simpson out of Newport Beach, Southern California area. And my focus was office and retail. That's what I started off focusing on. Most of my clients were syndicators. I did that for a couple of years, and then I went out and started my own company, my own brokerage and management company, and started working with some of the bigger syndicators on how they were, running their business. I helped them sell properties and manage their properties. I was kind of a multi-talented guy as far as my expertise in helping them. And I finally saw an opportunity to go out, and there's a big deal going on. I saw this, I don't know if you guys remember some of the foreclosures. I ended up buying a single family house. It was in Chino, California. It was about 2,200 square feet on a golf course. I got it for a pretty good price. VA repo, I bought it, brought in a partner, right? I learned how to partner, not about nothing down. So I learned how to bring in money, and we bought this thing. We each made about $22,000. So I liked it so much. Right about that time, the late 80s, the RTC days were popping up, the savings and loan crisis, right? Where all the properties were going upside down. The savings and loan were taking these things back. There was a huge flood of foreclosures. And I started looking around the country, all these properties and these marketplaces. I liked Houston. At the time, you could buy deals for $6,000 a door, which was pretty dang cheap. But flying from Southern California took me 6 hours. Not 6 hours. It took me 3.5 to almost 4 hours fly time just to get there. So I picked a closer spot that was having a lot of problems. I picked the Phoenix marketplace. So we started buying properties in Phoenix, putting together partnerships. It was only an hour flight, or if I drove, it was about 6 hour drive. So it's convenient. So we bought a bunch of properties. We put together over 1,500 units, made about 6 times our money, and that was in the 90s. Sold the properties. Was doing a lot of consulting with some of the big companies around the country, and decided to get back in the game. In 2000, we bought a bunch more properties. So that's kind of my story. And I've been doing this. I've been there, done that, been doing this for over 35 years. I've been through 5 real estate cycles. I kind of know what to look for in these cycles. And we're probably in the middle part of the game. We got a ways to go. We're not overbuilding like we typically do when real estate cycles start to hit a peak. There's not too much capital chasing the market. It's hard to get some financing right now. So that's kind of my background and what I've been doing. So I didn't want to share that with you. I've got a little gift for you guys for showing up. So as you can see your screen right there, that's my website right there, Value Hound Academy. What I want you to do is that right at the bottom, you can see the www.syndicationwealth.com. I've got a book that I wrote about syndication, about the whole process of syndication. But the big part of the book is dedicated to raising money. A lot of the things we're going to talk about today are in that book. So I recommend, with more details, so I recommend you go over there and get that book. It's really easy to do. Just type in www.syndicationwealth.com. It'll take you right to this page, and you can just download it. So that's a little goodie for you, and I hope you enjoy it. By the way, if you guys, I need to say this, if you guys ever have any questions, I'm not sure how these things are going to work out. I don't want you to go away with having questions and you're confused. So I'm going to give you my email address. It's Craig, C-R-A-I-G, @valuehoundacademy.com. Send me an email anytime, and I will gladly answer your question. So here's the things that we're going to talk about today. I really want to focus on the 4 biggies, the 4 biggest mistakes that new syndicators make. I'm going to go through that. There's 4 biggies. Just not making these 4 mistakes, you're probably going to have some success. Syndicators new at this business, they're afraid to get going. They have fears. They have roadblocks. And we're going to go through some of those roadblocks. I'm going to show you how to overcome those fears so you can start syndicating and going out and raising money. And there's really a 2-phase process to the money raising process. It is a process, right? We got to learn that process. But there's 2 phases to it. Most new syndicators start on the back end. They don't start first. They start doing things they shouldn't be doing, and they got to do things first. They got to start in the first phase. So we're going to spend most of our time talking about the 8-step dollar hound process to raising money. We're going to talk about the system. That's the 8 steps. We're going to go through each one of the steps, and I'm going to give you some clarity on that. All right. So let's talk about the 4 biggest money-raising mistakes. The first one is buying an average deal, a mediocre deal. You know, that's a problem because when you're just getting started, let's say you're a new syndicator and you go out and buy a deal that's just okay, it's hard to get anybody excited about that, right? You don't even get that excited about it because you're a little bit nervous on what you're doing, and you know, it's tough to go out and raise money on a deal that's just average. You need a great deal. A great deal, on your first deal especially, it lowers the risk for investors. It gets investors excited, right? It gives you more credibility because you got a great deal. If you have a great deal, it helps overcome and overshadow some of the weaknesses you have, like maybe your track record or maybe your experience, right? So if you have a great deal, it helps overcome some of those things. So you got to buy a great deal. And another one here, buying a deal that's too big. This happens a lot, right? Think about if you're going to buy a $10 million deal and you know, you're just new to this business. You don't have a rich uncle or a rich dad or anything. You don't really have capital. You got to go out and raise the capital, right? So if you're going to buy a $10 million deal, let's say you're going to put down $4 million because you got to put down cash down payment. You're going to have reserves, capital expenses. You're going to pay your acquisition fee, all that kind of good stuff. So you're going to raise $4 million. How comfortable do you feel raising $4 million? Yeah, maybe you think you know people, but you got to go out and raise that money. It's hard to do. Now, on the other side, if you did $1 million deal coming out of the gate, a small deal, you got to raise, let's say you raise $400,000. It's a lot easier. You got to get that deal done. It's most important for you to get that deal done because you need to see what that path looks like. And I always preach to start small. I know guys go out there and want to become billionaires in 3 weeks, but the reality is you got to start small. Think about all those hole-in-the-wall restaurants that started like that. All these guys that started their business in the garage or on their kitchen table, right? They started small. They built their proof of concept, and they learned the system, and then they started to go big. You got to start small. You need to know what that path looks like, right? You're going to go down the path. There's all kinds of gremlins and critters that are going to come up and make things tough for you to get down that path. You need to get down that path and make it easier on yourself by doing a small deal, so that when you get to the next deal, you can look down that path and say, hey, I know these little gremlins are going to pop up here and there, so I need to go around those things. It'll give you much more insight. So it's more important to get the first deal done than to get some big deal done. Okay, so lack of time to raise money. But this is a big one. This is where I was kind of talking about. I'm going to talk about it a little bit more in detail. But lack of time to raise money. That's a big issue, because most new syndicators, I'd say probably 95 to 96% or 7%, a real high percentage of new syndicators I talk to, they think you got to have a deal lined up first before you go out and raise the money. Well, the trouble is, let's go through a scenario. Let's say you're gonna tie up a property, and you spend a lot of time looking for it. You like it. You think this is a good deal. You're not sure, but you're thinking the numbers pencil. So you tie it up. And now let's say most deals have 60-day closings. You might get longer. This is a tight market right now, but let's just use 60. You got to go through due diligence. That's 14 days. You got to have your syndication documents set up. That's another 14 days. So and you only have 30 days left. So there's a lot of risk for you to go out there with a deal tied up and try and raise the money. I've heard a lot of people say that, if you find a great deal and it's a home run, the money will come. Well, that's BS. Again, unless you have rich people around you to give you the money, don't have that in your mind. Think about that. It's not easy to raise the money. You got to put together a process, a system that we're going to talk about. So you gotta make sure you raise the money first, right? You go out there and build your pool of investors, get them excited about what you're doing, and then you're going to go back to them and raise the money once you already kind of have that list. All right, let's go forward here. Lack of investment strategy and plan. You got to have a plan. Too many syndicators are out there flying by the seat of their pants, trying to find deals, trying to make them pencil. Don't really know what they're trying to find. They're just out there with a shotgun shooting anything that moves. Right? We need to be focused. We need an investment strategy. We need a plan. And that plan is what gets investors excited. Think about you or myself. If somebody brought me a deal and they didn't really have a plan, I'm probably not going to give them any money. And you probably wouldn't either. So you got to have a plan to what you're doing. And we're going to talk about that. That's actually the first step in the 8-step process, is coming up with your plan. So let me hit the go button. I wanted to give you kind of a summary of what we just talked about. So we got to buy a great deal. We're looking for something 18% IRR or more. If you're doing value add stuff where you have more risk, you need 18% or more. I mean, ideally, you like to be closer to 20. As interest rates, if they go up, I don't think they are, but that IRR might go up a little bit. But 18%, give them a nice preferred return. You're going to buy a small deal. We just talked about why you're buying a small. You're going to pool your investors before you get the deal, and you're going to have a great targeted plan that solves a big problem in a big market. So that's the summary of the 4 biggest mistakes. Don't make these mistakes. You'll find some success. These are some of the roadblocks that we have as we go through this process, especially new syndicators. They get scared of all the legal mumbo jumbo, right? And you don't need to be scared by it. You're going to hire a securities attorney that's going to advise you on all this legal mumbo jumbo. You're going to focus on the business side of it. So this should not be an issue. And besides, when you hire an attorney, a securities attorney, to put together all your legal documents, they get paid out of the money you raise. It's not coming out of your pocket in the end. It's not. So make sure you get a good attorney that will advise you on some of the legal mumbo jumbo and put all the documents together. Another one is a lot of people are afraid to go out and raise money. They fear like, they're not going to like what I'm talking about, and I'm going to look bad because I don't really know what I'm doing. That's a big problem of why people don't get going. They feel fear. They feel like, oh man, I don't know what I'm doing here, and how can I ask somebody for money? So part of what we're going to be talking about today is the process. Once you put together a great badass pitch book that solves a big problem in a big market, and you understand the problem that you're solving and how you're going to solve that, and you'll be able to communicate to investors, you'll get confidence, and that confidence helps reduce fear. So that's how we're going to reduce fear through our process. You don't know how. We don't have a process. We're going to talk about that. Don't know many wealthy people. Well, once you have a process, You're going to put together a system. We have a way to go out and find some of these wealthy people, how to get them on your list and how to go out and talk to them. We'll talk about that. They don't have a track record or they don't have the experience. You're going to find if you don't have experience or you don't have a track record, you're going to find somebody that does. Or you're going to start small, right? If you start small and you've got a great deal, it's easy to overcome these types of issues. But if you're out there buying this big, huge deal, now this becomes more important for you. I got a lot of people that have been in this business. They tried and they failed. They didn't get their syndication. They didn't raise the money, right? And that happens if you don't have a process. And they didn't really know what they're doing. They got the deal tied up. They had 30-day escrow. They couldn't raise the money. They ended up backing out of it, and they look like turkeys, right? They look like, especially the community, that they couldn't close on a deal. So they probably didn't have a plan. We're going to talk about our plan in our pitch book. It gets overwhelmed by the process, right? The process is a step-by-step process. We're only trying to do one thing really good, laying one brick at a time. And now we're going to focus on that. So you don't have the time. So if you don't have the time to do this, you're in the wrong business. You should go somewhere else, right? You got to be 100% committed to what you're doing. All right. So I'm going to talk about the process. I just mentioned the brick. So there is a process, and we're going to go out and we're going to focus on one brick. The first step, right? We're just going to focus on that first step, and we're going to do the best job we can. We're not going to worry about step 2. We're not going to worry about step 3. We're not going to worry about getting the deal closed, right? We're just going to focus on right now, we got to put together a pitch book. We got to get this badass pitch book that gets people excited about what we're doing. That's the whole brick we're going to focus on. Then we're going to go to the next brick, step 2. We're going to focus on that brick. And over time, we're going to get to the process where we have a nice wall built up, right? We have this beautiful wall. We've been focusing on our steps, and we're starting to get somewhere. We're starting to build our confidence as we go forward. And then ultimately, through the process of just doing step-by-step process, we get to step 7 and step 8, we start to close our deal. And we have this beautiful house when we get done. Too many people are focused on that house when they start their syndication business. They're focused and they get scared. Wow, look at how hard wow, I can't do that. They're not focused on one brick. They're not focused on the first step. Think about if you want to be skinny. You try to compare yourself to the guy that just lost 50 pounds and you think, wow, you start off and I can't do that, right? You got to focus on the product. You can't, have a successful business without going through this process. You can't compare yourself. You're getting a syndication business. You can't compare yourself to other syndicators that have been doing this for a while, that have this big, beautiful house. You're different. When you start off in life, you make mistakes. You learn. Think about the job that you're in right now. When you first started off, you didn't know what you're doing. You got scared. You looked at that house right there and you go, I don't know if I can do that. But over time, when you started to lay the bricks, you got good at it. And now you got confidence. So I want you to just focus on one brick. As you go through this educational process with all the information you're getting, figure out your system, put down what you're going to do, and just focus on that first brick and that first step. All right. So I want to touch on this before we get to the 8 steps because this is real important. I talked about this earlier, that most syndicators go out and find the deal first. They find the deal. That's what they think. They get it tied up, and all of a sudden now the game's on. Got to go out and raise the money. So we start in phase 2. They go out and try and raise the money. They got limited time. The fuse is going. There's a lot of risk. The thing could blow up in any second because you don't have enough time, right? They started in the wrong position. We want to start in phase 1. And that's the first 4 steps that we're going to be talking about of the 8 steps is building your pool of investors. Get these guys lined up. There's no rush. You can spend months building your pool of investors, right? And then you're going to find a deal. You're going to be able to say, here's what's going to happen. You're going to go build a pool of investors, get 10 to 15 people lined up. They're excited. You're going to go find your deal. You can take your time. Might take you 2 months, whatever, to get a great deal that matches your plan. Remember, they are excited about your plan. So you're going to find that deal that matches that plan, and you're going to be able to go back to them and say, hey, Mr. Investor, I know it's taken us a couple of months, but I found the perfect deal that matches our plan perfectly. We're going to load the truck on this, right? That's the right way to do it. So that's the way you raise money, but you already got guys lined up. First, you find a great deal that matches the plan. You give them the syndication documents to present them the deal, and they sign up. So this is the way you guys need to focus on. And I know it's unique. A lot of people just teach find a great deal and the money will come, but you got to have these guys lined up first. You're not violating any securities rules by going out and talking to investors. You're not talking about a deal. You're talking about an idea. It could be a book you wrote and you're going out talking about your book, right? So, follow this process, get your pool of investors built up first. And this is kind of what the system's going to look like that we're going to talk about here. We're going to talk about these 8 steps, but again, we got the 2 phases. We got the first phase, step 1, we're going to put together a badass pitch book that gets investors excited. We're going to put together our list of investors. There's a certain way to put together that list and ways to attract these guys, and we'll talk about that. You're going to conduct investor meetings. You're going to talk about, you're going to plop your pitch book down. You're going to sit there and talk about the big problem you've overcome, and here's how you're going to solve it. You're going to talk about your story in your pitch book. And the ones that say yes are going to go on your database. You call it the yes database. In step 4, you're going to build that investor database. And then database was going to be the key. Because once you get 10 to 15 people, now you're going to start phase 2. You're going to go out and find the deal that you really like. And once you find that deal in step 5, you're going to take it to your syndication attorney. You're going to get the documents created while you're going through the closing process. And doing your due diligence, all that good stuff, getting the financing lined up. And you're going to take these documents, the PPM or syndication documents, how you have it set up. In step 6, you're going to take those documents out to the investor and raise the money, right? And you're going to get the check. You're going to put it in the property bank, the partnership bank account. And then you're going to go to step 7. You're going to raise all the money. You're going to get it all set up. So you're going to wire it to escrow or a closing agent, and you're going to get the deal closed. And finally, step 8 is you're going to manage your investors. This is a gold step. This is like any business, right? You got to take care of your investors, and you got to manage these guys. You got to communicate. I'm going to tell you some of the things I do to generate more business just from managing my investors. So that's the process we're going to go through. We're going to start in phase 1, and then we're going to go to phase 2, and I'm going to talk about each one of these steps. So here's a picture of my pitch book right here. This is one I years ago. I'm not in the game anymore. My son died 5 years ago. I got cancer, so I've just changed my life, and so I just spend my time helping people. But this is one of the things I did a while back. I've done different lifestyles, right? You're going to come up with an investor strategy. I've been involved with senior housing, student housing, millennials, the affordable market, Hispanics. I've just been involved with a lot, seeing all that kind of good stuff. So anyways, I focus on the Hispanic market, right? That was a big problem in the big market because one of the biggest demographics going forward are Hispanics, right? That's a huge, huge demographic. So I would go into these properties and I would buy these properties, reposition them with a lifestyle, I call a community lifestyle approach, and give them all the things they want, services and amenities they can't get anywhere else. I mean, if I look at a property and I can't put a soccer field on that property, if I can't take a tennis court and put a soccer field on there, or if I got some land I can put a soccer field on, I'm not buying the property, right? I know my customers. I know who's going to live there. I know what they want. They want to play soccer. So I'd have soccer tournaments. I'd bring in the pros. They would learn how to play soccer. The kids would learn how to play soccer, and the adults. We'd have tournaments. We'd have all kinds of fun things, and it was huge. Everybody in my marketplace was trying to copy me. It was crazy. We got 25% higher risk because of that. You need to have an investment strategy, and that's the core of your pitch book. So the pitch book really is just a tool for you to talk about with investors, and it's a tool that you plop down on the desk, and you don't have them go through the whole pitch book. You just pick the core of it, which is how you're going to make money, the big problem you're solving. And so you got to put together a pitch book. So that's the big thing about pitch book. Some of the things you're going to have in your pitch book, you're going to have a title page. Right, a title page is really your introduction. It's your introduction to what you're doing, and it's real important to make sure you kind of tease these guys to show, hey, we got this unique investment strategy that's going to solve a big problem in the big market. You just saw mine, right? So you need a good title page, and investment highlights is really the big picture of what you're doing. That's the big picture. You're going to be buying a property, so the highlights are, hey, we got a problem we're solving out there. We got a niche, right? So we're going to implement a niche acquisition strategy. We're going to bring in the best management possible. We're going to focus on this one market where there's lots of the kind of properties we're looking for in, and we're going to generate projected returns of whatever, 12, 15%, whatever it is. And so I want you to focus on coming up with investment highlights. That's the second page in the book. You're going to follow these 10 pages by as they're laid up. There's a reason that they're set up. Next thing, you're going to come a company overview, right? This is what your company is all about and what you're doing. Most of you don't have, maybe you're new to this business, you don't really have a background to put in there. There's a way to come up with that. You're gonna put in there that you've done all these things in your past. Like because some of you guys are out looking at deals, and you've been out there analyzing deals, and maybe you've got some things close. You're going to put in there that you've done all these functions, right, in your company overview. And maybe what I found that one of my students came up with a great idea. He did a little flow chart, and he put that on that page to show that he's touched all these different things in the real estate acquisition, management, and construction and business. So you can do it that way. There's a lot of ways to do it, but that will help overcome some of the issues that you guys might have if you don't have the experience. Next is you're going to put in your management bios. And this is a big thing. We talked about the management and the track record. If you don't have a great bio, you don't have that experience, you got to bring somebody in. You're going to create, either they come on the management company or your syndication company, or they come in as an advisor, right? An advisor, you can create a whole page. I don't have it here, but that's one of the advanced, there's like 5 or 6 advanced pages. I'm not going to talk about today, but I'm going to give you the core of what the pitch book is. And you're going to put in an advisory board and bring in these guys that have loads of experience. And I go on advisory boards for a lot of my students because they can leverage my background. So again, if you don't have a lot of experience, start small, bring somebody in, right? Track record, same thing with the track record. If you don't have a track record, bring somebody in that does, or if you're starting small, that helps. Another thing you can do is create a sample deal. Like here's a sample case study and put all the numbers in there. This is the kind of deals we're looking at. So that will help overcome some of the lack of track record. You're going to have your strategy. This is a core to everything you're doing. We just talked about some of the types of strategy you could come up with. Right now in the marketplace, affordable housing is huge, right? That is big. And that's a great message. A lot of investors understand that problem, and you're going to come in and solve that problem and save the day. And because of that, you guys are going to make money, right? So you got to have an investment strategy. Keys to success. This is all about why you're going to be successful. Hey, Mr. Investor, we got tons of resources in the market. We see all the deals first before they come up. We have a great management team. We have a great business plan that solves a big problem. This is a great time to be in the marketplace. Whatever it is, those are why reasons you're going to be successful. So you need to put bullet points in and on that page in your pitch book that support why you're going to be successful. Next thing is investment life cycle, right? Investors give you money. These guys are high net worth guys. They could be doctors, attorneys, business owners. They don't really know real estate. All they know is they're giving you money. Here's my 50 grand or here's my 100 grand or whatever it is. Here's my money. They don't know. So what you got to do is to clarify. You're going to come up with a little investment life cycle, like a little chart that shows step 1, we're going to buy a deal. Step 2, we're going to fix it up. Step 3, we're going to raise rents and so forth. You go around the lifestyle. So at some point you're going to give the money back to them after you've gone through this cycle. So you need to explain that to them, because a confused mind always says no. Don't let them be confused. So give them clarity on what you're going to do with their money. Partnering with you, right? Your company. Why do they want to give you the money? What's the reason? What's the benefit of working with you, right? You only look at deals that are safe. You have an unbelievable due diligence process. Whatever those things are, you've got a unique investment strategy that generates high returns. Whatever that is, you got to tell them why they should be partnering with you. And then finally, you're going to talk about contacting us. How do we get a hold of you, and how do we take the next step? Here's a page we're going to put together that outlines all that. So those are the 10 basic pages that you're going to go through to create your pitch book. As you can see right there, we're going to focus on those. Again, there's some extra pages you put in there, like why this marketplace, why real estate, and stuff like that. Breaking down your investment strategy into how you're going to do it, because a lot a lot of new syndicators will talk about what they're going to do, but we're going to go out there and we're going to buy a property. We're going to fix it up. We're going to paint it, put in some landscaping. We're going to raise rents and we're going to make money. Well, that's what you're doing, but how are you going to do that? What are the step-by-step process to do that? That's the how. That's something you should probably put in your pitch book on how you're going to execute your plan, right? Not the what, because everybody's talk about the what. The how is what makes you unique and what makes you different, okay? So here's a couple pages of pitch books that we've done, right? Your pitch book's got to look badass. It's got to look sexy. It's got to look professional, right? You're going to, a book, what do they say? A book, 80% of sales come from the book cover, right? You got to have a great book cover. You got to have a great presentation. And these are just different four sample pages that we've done in different pitch books of some of our students we've been involved with. Just to show you can see a title page on the left. Right here, you can see here's investor strategy, acquisition criteria. Here's his competitive advantages, 4-step competitive advantage right here. Here's a sample deal. I mean, I told you I let my students use my background. So here's a sample deal right there they put in there. So these are just samples to make sure it looks good. It's who you are. Pitch books are real important for your success. It's the backbone of who you are. It becomes, your investor strategy becomes who you are. It becomes your brand. It becomes what you're known for, right? And so you gotta put that together and be out there and focus on one rabbit. You're not chasing rabbits. You're focused on one rabbit with your investment strategy, and you're going to be the best at it. You're going to master it, and you're going to get known for that. Let's talk about step 2 now, creating your list of investors. Let me check the clock here. 9:36 over here. I'm in Phoenix, so it's only 9:36. Create your investor list, right? When you start to put together your list, the first thing you're going to go after is family and friends. Family and friends are probably your most likely route if you're just getting started and you haven't built up that trust of people. It's where you're going to find the easiest people to talk to about your pitch book. They already like you. They already know you. They already trust you. So it's easy. But you got to be careful with this group of lists, because if you're going to get money from one of your family members that doesn't have a whole lot of money, but it's going to give you some money, and something goes wrong, you're not going to like sitting down at the kitchen table when you're having dinner at Thanksgiving, because you're going to have problems, right? So make sure if there are family members, family and friends, they have enough money, the money they're going to give you is not going to jeopardize your relationship. But I'd like you to get on this list, I'd like you to get 25 people on this list. Try to put up on your list 25 people, right? And the next list is going to be your business associates. Think about all the business associates you've been involved with over your career, right? You've had previous jobs, you had current jobs, you got clients you work with, you got vendors that come in to service you. You got other people, partners and associates that are in your business, that were a part of your business. This is one of your biggest lists right here. I want you to get at least 50 business associates. Take your time. You sit down, you make a nice list. You're trying to build your list. There's lots of people that kind of know you, that like you. I had back when I started going out raising money, think about, this big company I work with down in Beverly Hills. One of the attorneys right there, I went back to him and said, hey, I've got this thing I'm working on. I'm starting to do my own stuff. Would you be interested? He said, heck yeah. What took you so long to ask me? Right? So there's people out there in previous lives that will support you, and get them on your list. Try to build that to 50 people. The last one is on the third on the list is the professional, organizational, and trade. There's lots of attorneys, lots of doctors, lots of financial planners, lots of accountants, lots of business owners, lots of high net worth people in your sphere that you may work with, that may want to invest with you, right? A lot of guys raise money from their attorneys that draw up the syndication documents, that they always have guys lined up. I had a guy I work with in Florida that bought a property in North Carolina. He had the attorney put together all the syndication documents, and the attorney helped raise most of the money, right? So attorneys are a big one. Organizations, think about your church where you go to. There's a lot of wealthy people at church, and they like to donate. They like to help people. And if you have great relationships, it's a great way to raise some money. Trade organizations, right? Think about if you're in the water filtration business, or you're in the financial analysis business, or whatever business you're in, there's always trade associations attached to those industries. So if you're a part of that and you meet people, there's a lot of wealthy people in those associations, a lot of business owners in those associations that provide services and products that you can get to know that will invest in your deals. So that's a big picture on how you're going to build your list. It's real important to put as many people as you can on this list. I'd like to see on the list number 3, I like to get 25 people. I'm hoping that when you put together a list, there's 100 people on your list. I used to teach and try to get people to get 200, but I'm going to make it easy for you guys. Just get 100 people on your list. This business is all about relationships, building relationships. The company one of the companies I did work for, the name Tadco Investments back in the 80s, the guy had 4 Rolodexes. 4. I mean, these are old, the Rolodexes. Remember those? He had 4 of these things loaded with people. He knew everybody. He had a $2 billion company back then. He wasn't really good at real estate, but he is good at raising money. He was good at building relationships. And look at the guys that's putting this whole summit together. Dan, the guy is unbelievable relationship builder, right? He's a master. So follow his actions, but you need to build relationships. Now we're going to step through. We're going to go out and conduct meetings. We're going to get together these investors. We're going to have our talk already prepare it out. We're going to know how our investor thinks. If the investor has $1 million, you got to know how he thinks. You got to know the right words, the right buzzwords to throw out there to him. You got to know what's most important to him, because if you have no money, you're going to look at it different than if you had $1 million. So you got to think about these investors. The best way to get together with the investors is in personal contact. Have a meeting face to face. You want that investor to see your eyes. You want to see their eyes. You want them to see your emotions. You need to be excited. If you're excited, they're going to get excited. They need to see that. It's best to get in front of these guys face to face. Have a cup of coffee, go to lunch, do whatever you got to do. Go to their office, just meet them face to face. Now, if you have investors on your list that are across the country, it's not feasible to do that. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your pitch book, you're going to email it to them right before a setup meeting you have. And you're going to get on the phone, you guys are going to go through it together. And you're still going to try and come across as enthusiastic, best you can over the phone. Another way is to do group meetings. I felt like most success I had was doing group meetings. And we would do these lunch meetings, right? We're going to talk about real estate investing, and part of that is your strategy, how you're going to make money, right? And we do these lunch meetings. We go to the local Mexican restaurant, get a bunch of mini burritos, tacos, and so forth, and chips and salsa. And we have these meetings for an hour, hour and a half, and everybody get to eat for free, and it's cheap, costs $50 or something like that. And they sit around and eat these chips and eat some small burritos, and we talk about real estate investing. We started talking about what we're doing, getting them excited about the idea that we've come up on how to solve a big problem in a big market with our investment strategy. And we get them excited, and we go to the next step, right? They go into our yes database, right? But there's one thing you got to do first. There's a big question I want you to ask. You're sitting there having your meeting, and they look like they're interested, and you're going to say, "Hey, Mr. Investor, if I find a great opportunity that matches the plan we've been talking about, should I bring you that investment?" And you shut up. You don't say anything. If they say, "Yeah, I'd like to see it," then they're going to go in your yes database. Now they showed some interest. That, "Yeah, I'd like to see it." They're going in your yes database. And so let's talk about the next step, which is step 4, building your database. Here's a sample right here. I just took a snapshot of Outlook and put in the sample right there. We're going to meet with Johnny Investor. And we've got all his contact information. And some of the notes we had with Johnny was that we're going to meet Johnny for coffee on Tuesday at Hungry Restaurant. Met with Johnny. He's interested. Send Johnny some information on the 1st of each month, right? So this is our CRM program. Just like if you're a real estate broker and you got to build your clientele, this is what you do, right? The same thing, getting investors, right? We're gonna follow. We're gonna track. You're gonna make notes. Maybe Johnny's daughter just graduated from college, right? You're gonna make a note about that. Next time you get together, you're gonna say, "Yeah, how did the graduation go at your daughter's college graduation?" Gonna make you look like a superstar. You're building relationships. You're building relationships. This is the most important step. I mean, the pitch book is important, but I've had guys have gone down to this process, got the pitch book, a great pitch book, got lots of investor lists built up, lots of meetings, a lot of guys went into the Yes database, 40, 50 people. But one guy in Florida I think about, he was going great, but he never stayed in contact with these guys. You got to stay in contact with these guys. You got to put together a drip campaign and stay in contact with these guys, because that's where the relationship building it comes from. So he finally got the deal closed, but he had a hard time. But I'm telling you right now, you got to build those relationships. And here's a way to stay in contact with some of these guys. You know, over the period of, you know, until you find a deal, you're going to maybe have a call, touch base with them. You're going to send them articles, information about something related to your investment strategy. Maybe you're going to meet them for a drink or a cup of coffee. Anything that's going on around the marketplace, you heard some big property sell or property in your marketplace sell, and some investor made a lot of money, send them a copy of that story. Invite them to dinner or wine tasting or something like that. Take them to an event, baseball game, golf event, or something like that. Send them your investor newsletter. You're going to come up with a newsletter. You send that once a month or every 2 weeks. It depends on how often you want to touch them. I like to touch them every 2 months, every 2 weeks. But you got to stay in contact with these guys. And another thing is that you're going to refer important research. So being valuable to your investors, potential investors, is helping them. So if there's some sort of resource that would help them with their business or help them some way, and you give them a resource to help them, you're going to look like a superstar. So that really leads to help building your relationships. So that was step 4. Now we're going to make a transition. We got through our deal, our raising money process. We got the 4 steps completed. Now it's time to go out and find that deal. Let's say we found the deal. We got it under contract. Now it's time to create our syndication documents. We're going to create a private placement, a private placement memorandum. And there's 3 basic documents that go in there, right? The first one is the investment offering circular. This is the disclosure document. This is the document that talks about all the risks, all the things that go wrong. You could lose your money. Watch out. Make sure you have somebody that knows what they're doing. Look this thing over. Get a professional. Get legal advice. Get, financial advice, tax advice. And also in that investment circular, it has a spot for your business plan, information about you as a syndicator, and other goodies. That it talks about, how you're going to make money, right? So it's kind of a contradictory document, because in one case it's saying you can lose everything. Another part of it's talking about how you're going to make all this money. So, but that's the investment circular. That's important to have, especially if you're doing some of these private placements where you don't have accredited investors. You got to have an investment offering circular. Second thing is the second document is operating agreement. This is usually a limited liability company, but it's really the partnership agreement. It's how you're going to run your partnership. It's how much back end are you going to take? What's your profit participation in this? What is the syndicator going to do? What is the syndicator allowed to do before he needs approval from the partnership? When are we going to sell the property? What if the syndicator dies? What if we need to raise more money? What if I don't know. There's all kinds of reasons that you need to have language in your operating, but it's really the rules. If you're going to go to business together and you need an agreement that spells out if something happens, what happens. You go to the agreement and it spells out how you're going to remedy the situation. So you need that operating agreement. And the last thing is the statement of suitability and subscription agreement. This is where you got to qualify these guys. If you're doing even if you're doing a full accredited syndication, you still need this document. But it's all about they gotta verify that they're capable, that they're suitable for the deal. Like if you're doing accredited investors, there's certain requirements they need to have wealth-wise to become an accredited investor, right? They got to be $1 million and so forth, and make over $200,000 to $300,000, depends if you're married or single. But anyways, they have to fill out this questionnaire and say that they are. You're going to have to check up on some of these guys to make sure that they're suitable. But that's really what that's all about. Just a tip here: if you're going to do a accredited partnership, all you're going to have is accredited investors. You don't need the investment circular, especially if it's a small deal, right? You can have one. It's the most expensive document to prepare. So you can get around that, right? You have much more freedom and flexibility if all your guys in your partnership are credited. So all you just need is an operating agreement and a suitability agreement. So something to think about there. So now we got our documents created. It's step 6. We're going to go out and we're going to raise our money. We got our documents. We're all excited. And we're going to go out to get our money raised. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to develop our first stage list. This is a list. We already have our Yes database. We're going to go in there and find 10 or 15, let's say 15 people that were on that list that say, yes, I want to do this. You're going to create that list and put it on the list. And then you're going to contact those on the list. You're going to say, hey, Mr. Investor, we talked about this strategy. You've been excited about it. Well, I finally found a deal. And we're ready to get this thing closed. I'd like to set up a meeting to come out and talk to you. And then we're going to get the PPM investors' hands. So now you're going to go out there. You have made the meeting. You're going to go out there. You're going to talk to them. Here's a tip on your PPM. You've seen these PPMs. They're like, wow, there's a lot going on there, right? There's a lot of legalese and it's confusing. There's a lot of documents. You're going to create a cover letter to this. And in that cover letter, you're going to say, well, this is a great investment, but you're going to put some bullet points in there. These are the big selling points of your deal. Like it's going to make this much money and you're solving this big problem. Whatever it is, the big parts that are inside that document, you're going to pull them out and put them in bullet point on your cover letter, because that spells out everything and you're able to sell off that cover letter. It's hard to do that when you're trying to thumb through a PPM. Right? But now you're going to have a cover letter. You're going to leave that with them and because they're going to probably want to talk to their attorneys or their wives or whatever like that. And you're going to tell them, hey, Mr. Investor, this is a great deal. We got a lot of interested investors. We're trying to close this thing out. We need you to make a fairly rapid response on what you want to do. Right? You want to show some sort of scarcity that we've already got this thing closed. If you want to get in this deal, Mr. Investor, you got to move on it. Then step 4 is, let's say you had your list of 15 people on your A list. Now you got to go to your B list, your second list. Now on the second list, you're going to put together another 15 people on this list. And these are the ones that you didn't think, they weren't the low-hanging fruit. You thought, oh, these guys are interested. So you're going to put this list together and you're going to go out and do the same process. Step 2 and step 3, you're going to repeat. And what you'll find is people that were on your A list won't invest. That you thought for sure that they're going to invest. They're going to love this thing, and they don't invest. But you'll find that people on your second list you didn't think were going to invest will invest. So you just never know. So you're going to get that second stage list, the B list, and you're going to go out and talk to investors. And you should have already raised the money, had it already subscribed. But if you don't, you're going to do the next step. Step 3 is you're going to develop a third list. And the third list, the C list, is pretty much whatever's left on your Yes database you haven't gone out to talk to. You're going to put that on your list. And you're also going to, there's a lot of guys that you never even got a chance to talk to that were on your list. You get to meet with them or talk to them. You're going to put them on your list and you're going to go out and talk to them. You already got your PPM document lined up. You can talk to them about the deal. You're going to go see them and you should have the money raised by then. So that's the 6 steps. And like I said before, you got to make sure you're really good at the first 4 steps and building your relationships with these guys. So when you get to this step right here, when you go out there, ask them for the check, it's a lot easier. It's because they're already excited about the deal and they're in the game. The last thing is you got to close your investors. So you're obviously going to get the document signed and you're going to get a check from them. And you got to make sure you go through the documents thoroughly and make sure that they are qualified. There's guys that may not have the right proper income or maybe they just don't fit. You have the discretion to pick whoever you want. There's no, judgments. You get to pick who you want in the thing. And maybe there's some guy who's just a pain in the butt and you don't want him in the deal and so you won't take him, right? But you get to decide who gets in there. But you got to make sure they're qualified and they're going to fit your syndication. You're going to get the checks. You're going to put them in your partnership bank account and then you're going to wait to get the deal closed. But that's the process of actually raising the money from investors. Let's talk about the step 7. This is the thing that some people don't understand. So this is how you're going to close your deal, right? There's a lot of things you're going to do in escrow. There really are 3 closings. People don't realize that. You got to close the seller, the property. You got to close the debt guy that's giving the loan. And you got to close your partnership, the equity guys. There really are three closings when you get to the time to close the deal. But let's just focus on getting the property closed. So you're gonna set up your syndication partnership account, right? That you're gonna do that right when you get your syndication documents done. You're gonna take your operating agreement. Now, of the 3 documents, you take that operating agreement down to your local bank of Piggy, and you're gonna open up an account on that partnership account, and that's the Bank of Piggy account. So all the investors that you're gonna raise money, you're gonna take that money and they're gonna wire it in or give you a check to put it in the Bank of Piggy, right? So let's say we raised $750,000, and we need $500,000 to close. So we're gonna wire $500,000 to closing agent, and we're gonna keep $250,000 in the Bank of Piggy. That's our partnership account that we're gonna have until we sell a property. That stays there. When you have the management company send you cash flow, you're going to deposit into this account, partnership account. This account's the account you're going to write cash flow distribution checks out of. This is your operating account for your partnership, not the property, your partnership. And so let's say you got $250,000 remaining. Right? You put $500 to escrow to closing age, you get the thing closed, but you got $250 left. That $250 is your reserves, or capital improvement dollars, closing costs, your acquisition fee, all that good stuff stays in there, and you make payments from there. You're going to maybe make guys coming in to paint the property and make a payment out of this Bank of Piggy, and it's going to pay for the painter. So that's the partnership account. That's how the money process works right there. I will say, you got to get this set up. I'll give you a tip too, because this has happened. If you have a check, investor gives you a check, right? And it's like 2 days before closing, you're in trouble. If you need that check, you're in trouble because it takes 7 to 10 days to clear the check. You need to get them to wire the money in. Don't be taking checks, 7 to 10 days before you're going to close. Get them to wire the money in. That's just an advanced tip that's happened before. But it's real important that the investors know what's going on. And some of you guys, some of the investors may feel uncomfortable giving you the money, right? So you can have the money actually wired directly to the closing agent, and the closing agent will put the investor's name on there, and that's their money, no matter what. You can't touch that money. Now you can tell escrow what to do with that money. You've got to close the deal. But if the deal goes south, that money gets directly sent back to the investor. So maybe I've done deals like this, where I just had the investors just wire money into the closing account. It's all credited to my account, the buyer's account. But just another tip. Oh, step 8, love this step, because this is where the gold is. I call this the gold step. You're going to take care of your investors. You are a money manager. You're a money manager. You're managing their money. You got to take care of the money. You got to tell them what's going on with the money. If they want to ask you about the property or whatever, you got to be transparent. Give them all the financials. Talk to them on the phone. You're a money manager. You got to make sure they're happy. And I got to say, the reason why I call this the gold step is because if you keep them happy and you communicate with them and you give them what I call an asset management report, and you show them all the great stuff's happening, they're going to come back and give you more money. In fact, they'll be knocking on your door saying, where's the next deal? They want to be in the next deal. So the best way to keep them happy and keep them excited that I found that worked for me was to put together an asset management report. And that asset management report, essentially, I sent once a month, especially early in the renovation process for probably 6 months. I wanted them to see what was going on. So I put together a 3-page report, and at the top, I always put down the current rents and last month's rent, and these are the current rents. And I show them the rent growth as it's going on. And as we see that the rent growth going forward, they get excited. I put a whole section in there about property management. What's going on, tenant issues. What's going on, maintenance issues. What's going on, capital improvement issues. And then I take before and after pictures. Here's what it looked like before, Mr. Investor, and here's what it looks like after we got done with this capital improvement. And I put probably 4 or 5 different before and after pictures in each asset management report, and I send it out. They see those. That's all really what they look at is just the pictures. And they get excited, and they start calling you up. Hey, this sounds like things are going great. What do you got on the next deal? When's that coming? This is the gold step. This is how you solve your problem of trying to go out and raise money, because you're building this network of investors. One of your investors is going to come out and wants to do the next deal. He's going to bring in 3 investors in the next deal. Think about how that multiplies over time. So you're going to get to the point where you're going to have no problem raising money. That's going to be easy. It's finding the deals. And where syndicators get in trouble is they start doing dumb deals just because they have so much money trying to put together deals, and they want to earn fees, right? So they buy these properties that don't really cash flow very well. They're average deals like we talked about, and they get themselves in trouble by doing that. So make sure you always buy a good deal. Even when you got tons of money, you got to make sure you got a great deal. So just quickly to go through what we just talked about here. This is the 8 steps we went through, just to summarize. We got to create a great pitch book. The pitch book is the core of who we are. It's got to be a badass pitch book that explains everything we're doing and how we're going to do it and gets them excited about what we're doing so that they can go eventually into our yes database. We're going to create an investor list, right? These are we gave you three different types of lists you're going to create, from family and friends to business associates and to the professionals, trade organizations, and so forth. And then we talked about conducting investor meetings. You're going to get together investors, whether it's on the phone, in person, I recommend in person, or even doing little seminars. You're going to get together and you're going to go through all that. It's real important to get them bought in, get them to say, I like what you're doing. If you find a great deal, bring it to me. That's the key to this business. When you find a great deal, bring it to me. And then the ones that say yes, you're going to go in your yes database and you're going to make sure you stay in contact with them. I gave you different ways you can stay in contact. You're going to keep dripping them. You're going to stay right in their face and keep them excited. You're going to get together with them, continue to build that relationship. And then when you get 10 to 15 people, you're going to go out and try and find a deal. And you're going to find your deal. You're going to get it in contract. You're going to get tied up. You're going to go out and do some due diligence. You're going to engage your securities attorney. You're going to get them started creating the documents. Then step 6, you're going to take those documents out and you're going to raise the money from investors using the A list, B list, and C list to raise the money, making sure you're getting qualified people that meet the standards of your syndication and the regulations of securities exchange. And then you're going to close the deal. You're going to get all your money. You're going to get it wired in, and you're going to close it by wiring it to escrow or closing agent. And then you're going to manage the process. You're going to manage your investors. You're going to stay with them, be very communicative, be very transparent. These are your customers. You got to take care of your customers. Let them know what you're doing. Let them know the successes you're having. If there's something bad comes up, don't be afraid to hold it back. Be very transparent. Just on a side note, I got to say something about that. I've had that happen before when something comes up. Whenever you have something bad happen, you got to come up with a solution first. You don't go to your investor and say, hey, this is what happened. You go to the investor, hey, this happened here, but here's how we're going to solve it. The investors don't want to know the problem. They want to know how you're going to solve it. If you're in water and you're drowning, they already know they're drowning. How are they going to get out? So anyway, that's how you talk to investors if something bad goes on. But ideally, you're talking about and you're communicating how things are going great and how you're making money, and they're going to get excited about the next deal. That's kind of the 8-step system, and I think it's a system you can follow. The idea is you have this system now. We talked about putting together a system, an 8-step system that all you got to do is one brick at a time, one step at a time, and you're going to work your buns off at each step, feel very good about it. You're not going to look at step 7 or 8. You're going to focus on step 1 and keep your head down and get step 1 done. Great. And then you're going to go on to step 2 and you're going to keep going. Once you get this process all done, you get your pitch book and you start talking to people, your confidence level is going to skyrocket. You have a process. Some of the fears you had before are going to go away. I'm just telling you, the light will come on. It happens every single time the light comes on. It's because of the clarity. When you know what you're doing, you feel confident. When you don't know what you're doing, you don't feel confident. This process gives you that confidence. So you need a process. A lot of people out there trying to raise money, they don't have a process. They're struggling and they just quit and they never get going. So I've given you everything you need to get your first deal done or get a deal done with the process. Remember, this is a process. This is not an event. The process is to raise money. There's a process. Think about the guys that type these properties that just get it put in escrow and they don't have the money lined up. right? Now it's an event. Now they need to all of a sudden need money. I got guys that come to me and say, I need to raise a couple $1 million. I got a deal tied up. I got 3 weeks left. I'm sorry, I can't help you, man. You came in at the wrong time because they didn't build their list first. They just thought they could raise the money, and it's tough to do. You got to build that process. It's not an event. So you've got that process. So I want you to work this process, get your list built up, meet people, get them in your database, build a huge database. You could put it up to 30 people before you find a deal. There's no rush, but get a nice solid database built up. So when you do find that deal, hey, Mr. Investor, I found the perfect deal. We're going to match it. We're going to load the truck. You're going to look like Superman saving the day for these guys because you followed a process and they could see the process and they're comfortable with that process. So take your time, get your list built up, get the deal, get it closed with the guys who are excited. That's the process. So I've got this thing I've got coming up here. So if you like what I just went through and I showed you how to do it, you guys can do it. But if you need help doing this, we're going to go into detail. I got a 5-week Raising Money Boot Camp coming up here. This is coming up February 7th. And it's all about being active. We're going to put together our pitch books together. We're going to work on a script to talk to investors together. I'm going to review all your work. You're going to send me stuff. I'm going to get back to you and tell you how to improve it. We're going to dig in these 5 weeks. It's going to be from February 7th to March 19th. Right? So I want you to go to a page. I'm going to show you a page here I got set up so I can show you. You're going to go to this page right here, right? This is the valuehoundacademy.com. You're going to go here and you're going to click on this banner right here, right? Click on this banner. By the way, if you haven't signed up Value Hound Academy, I got tons of free information on everything about syndication, investments. You can see over here to the side, but click on this banner and this will take you to this page right here. And this is the 5-week system. You can go ahead and read all this stuff. I encourage you to do that. But I want to go down here and just focus on this right here for a second. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do step 1. We're going to develop your pitch book, right? I'm going to show you tons of pitch books, give you lots of examples for you to learn from and help build your pitch book, right? We're going to put together your plan. We're going to come up with a great strategy that gets people excited. Because just saying you're going to fix a property up and make some money doesn't get investors. They want to be part of a bigger problem. And so you're going to come up with a strategy that's part of a bigger problem that you're solving. In step 2, we're going to put together our list of investors, right? We just talked about. We're going to show you the types of investors you should be going after, the ones that will really help you the most. We're going to learn how to talk to investors, right? We're going to go through the whole, we'll give you a script. We're going to come up with what I call a PSO talk, problem, solution, opportunity. We're going to build a database. We're going to go through the syndication documents. We're going to role play some of our investor meetings. We're going to show you the closing process, and we're going to show you how to get investor referrals. Those are the things you're going to be doing. Here's all the things that you're going to learn. I mean, you can go through that. All the things you're going to get. I mean, you're going to get everything. I got so many documents, templates I'm going to give you. You're going to have 24/7 access to me. We're going to have a private coaching call. I'm going to critique your pitch book. I've got a whole course I'm going to give you on creating your pitch book. You're going to get that credibility package. This is probably one of the biggies right here. For especially new guys, I'm going to give you permission to use me on your advisory board like I just showed you there in your pitch book. I'm going to give you case studies you can use that I've done, probably not done. I'm going to let you, I have a white paper that I authored that's about real estate investing. I'm going to give it to you. You're going to take my name and bio out. You're going to put yours there, and now you're an author, right? So this little credibility package really will help you stand on my shoulders to help you with your business. Here's a lot of guys who've been through it. We're giving you a guarantee. You can 7 days. You don't like it, go out. It doesn't matter. Just I want you to try it out and see what you think. The real cost of it not attending is a big one. We got a guy by name of Neil that's knows everybody in town. He's a successful commercial real estate broker. He had lunch with one of his clients in Denver, and they were sitting down having lunch, and the Denver syndicator asked, "How come you haven't got involved with syndication?" And we've been working for 30 years together. I made over $50 million. What's your net worth? And once he heard that, he signed up for the program. He saw the loss of money. I got lots of guys I worked with that come back after 3 years. And I said, man, you lost a lot of money this last 3 years. What are you doing? You got the talent to do this. And so they get enrolled. So I want you to go through that. We've got a special discount for you guys. If you want to sign up by January 20th, midnight, there's a counter going on down here. We're going to give you $3 off this. $3, $300 off that. So it goes down to $12.97, and just click here to enroll.
Hey, Craig, your second screen is not sharing. It's showing your PowerPoint screen.
A second screen. I only have one screen.
Oh, okay. Well, it's showing me your PowerPoint. You were saying to click on this banner. I don't know if we're looking at the right screen. Somebody had put in the comments that they couldn't see.
Okay.
The screen. I just want to make sure we had it all correct.
I was just trying to show a couple web pages, and you're not seeing the web pages?
No.
Okay. Well, I think I talked to Stacy. She said you could just share my screen. So I was sharing the screen. Do I need to get rid of the PowerPoint?
That's all I'm seeing right now is your PowerPoint homepage.
Okay. Well, anyways, guys, I recommend you go into thevaluehuntingacademy.com, click it on the link. You can see what it's all about. There's a discount code for you right there, WFIN Summit. Plug that in. You're going to get $300 off the price, which is regularly we sell this thing for $2,600. You're going to get it for $12.97. It's a deep dive. It's total immersion. We're going to do all this stuff together. It's a lot easier when we do it together, and you get to meet people, and we'll have fun doing it. So, what do we have any questions? I felt like I should have stopped somewhere and asked.
Yeah, no, Craig, thank you so much. Getting great feedback here. Everybody's very impressed with the content you provided them. I'm very impressive. We have several questions. We'll try to get through as many as we can. We got about 5 minutes left, so I'm just going to start from the top and ask them and let you run with that. So the first question comes from James Gleason. It says, do you recommend flipping properties on the side for some side income, or is it better to focus on raising money and getting into apartments? Joe Fairless, not sure if you know them, parentheses, says he doesn't flip properties and he has $500 million in assets. So what's your recommendation, Craig?
Well, the syndication business it's a part-time thing, especially if you're getting going. You need to have income. If you need to generate income from flipping, I would keep doing that. If you have a job, I would stay focused on it. This is a part-time business. We're going to spend 15 to 20 hours a week putting this thing up. But once you get to the point where you got a property closed, maybe you're getting ready to close another property, you're going to have fees generated from your syndications, and you can live off those fees. But you need to have a job. You need income to continue your syndication business.
Okay, and second question also from James. In your opinion, what is the best use of day-to-day time as a real estate investor? I find myself having about 3 hours per day of work because much of the work is outsourced.
I think right now, if you're new to this business, you need to build relationships. You need to get your pitch book put together that solves a big problem that really gets people excited. You need to go out and talk to people about that. Get them in your database and start building those relationships. Relationships or anything. You could go start another business if you have those relationships. Relationships are the key to business, period. So you need to focus your time on building those relationships.
All right, excellent. And next question is from Andrew Kiefer. How long will the recordings be available? We'll get that. We'll have those recorded for you, and you watch those. But I'll get back with you on that, Andrew. Let's stick with questions specific to you, Craig. Let me get that one. This is from an anonymous person. Is there software available that has templates for a pitch book, which you just said that you have all that in your boot camp?
Right.
So make sure you go use the discount code, which is WFIN Summit, and check out Craig's Raising Money Bootcamp, and all that will be provided in that. Also, from an anonymous person, what is the average return that the money manager will make? Also, should the manager be an investor in the deal?
Good question. So I recommend that you put some money in the deal. A lot of guys can't do that. It helps you when you raise your money because it looks like you have skin in the game. Some people will take the acquisition fee and roll it in as an investment. But you really need to make sure that investors are getting compensated properly, right? They're making a decent return. If you have a great deal that's a home run, right? This thing could have a 40%, 35% IRR. You're not going to show that IRR to them. You're going to fluff up your model to show 20% or something like that. You can take more back in. You can take bigger fees. You can participate more in the deal. So did that answer the question?
Yeah, definitely. And, the reason I think that's important that you have money invested in it is for alignment of interest. Right. And even some lenders will require a certain level of investment by the loan guarantor for alignment of interest purposes. So we have another question from Skylar Vincent. Last stage of step 3 is to look into your industry for potential investors. What if I am only in multifamily?
Was she talking about the trade associations?
Not sure, because I'd asked for some context into the original question. So it just says last stage of step 3 is to look into your industry for potential investors. What if I'm only in multifamily? Okay. So should they look outside of multifamily for investors?
Because yes, everywhere. You're going to become an evangelist about your pitch book, about your strategy. You're going to be on every corner telling everybody what you're doing, how you're making money in real estate.
Yeah, exactly. Excuse me. Darren Green asks, Craig, any advice on how or if you need to register your deal as a 506B or 506C after completing the PPM?
Well, you're going to create the type of syndication. You're going to pick the rule based on what you're going to do. So if you're going to do a 506B, you can have 35 sophisticated investors and as many accredited investors you want. If you're going to do a 506C, you only can have accredited investors. So you need to decide on that first, and then they're going to create the syndication documents once you decided that. And simply, if you're just getting going, you probably need to do a B, because a lot of your investors are going to be guys who have 401ks and their money. They're not millionaires, or they're not accredited investors. It'll help you raise more money if you're a B.
Exactly. Very good answer. Here's another question from Skylar. What is the difference in building an investor database and building an investor list? Is there a difference between the two?
Well, the list is just the people you're going to talk to. You're going to make a list. I'm going to talk to these 100 people, right? That's my list. Then you're going to start setting up meetings to start talking with some of those 100 people. And once you talk to these people, the ones that are interested, that like what you're doing, they're going to go in your database. And that's a whole different thing you're going to set up.
Excellent. Let's see. Venue asks, will we get the deck? Sorry, I missed the person. Okay, they're asking about the recording again. Yes, we will have the recording for you. All of the sessions will be recorded, and they're on Facebook Live currently too. This is from Kyle Alton. As an international investor, would I be able to create a syndication in the USA?
Yes, you can. Right? There's certain requirements for people like money coming outside the United States, but you can. Absolutely. And today, that's a great way to bring in money. I know one of the guys I work with is in Switzerland, and he's trying to bring money in from Switzerland to buy properties in Texas.
Yes. A lot of foreign money, especially on the private capital side stuff. James Gleason asks, do you recommend only focusing on value add, or what do you think about core properties?
I think you focus on what you feel most comfortable with. If you're going to focus on properties where your investors are mostly gray-haired guys that are retired and need the monthly cash flow, maybe you do those kind of deals, right? Because they're lower risk. Your cap rate's going to be real low. Your rate of return is not going to be that high, but you're going to get consistent cash flow, right? Those are the properties that have a nice 12-month operating history. There's not a lot of risk. And so those would be good for those guys. You can syndicate that, of course. You can syndicate anything. But I'm a value add guy. I'm looking for value add deals. And you can syndicate those as well.
Okay. And let's see. Let me clear this one out. James also asked a question along that same line. Or do you also just buy high-end properties as a place to put your capital? That would be more of a cash flow type property. I think I understand. Yep. And so Juan Vargas is recommending you, Craig, as your academy. He says, I personally recommend Craig Haskell's Academy. I personally have been a part of it, and the content of Craig are both A+.
Thank you, Juan.
And he didn't pay me to say this. He said in parentheses.
He's awesome. Yeah, he's had so much success. It's amazing. And he's speaking there at one of your events.
Yeah, he's next up. We're doing a panel discussion.
Oh, is he right behind me?
yeah. He's right after the break. He's coming back. So we'll see him in a little bit. So if you want to hear from Juan, stick around. We got 3 more. Let's try to get through these real quick. I know we're a little bit past time, but I know you like to answer the questions that we have. How do you structure your deals with syndicators? What percentage do you get for an acquisition fee? Do you get any other fees as a sponsor? What % do you give your investors?
Well, that's a whole issue, right? There's lots of different fees you can get. You don't want to take too many because it makes the deal look a little funky from the investor standpoint. So you're going to take an acquisition fee. It depends on the deal. It depends on the quality of the deal. If you're just new to the business and just getting started, you probably take a 2%, maybe 3% max. If you're buying a real small property, you're probably going to charge more just because it's so small. But ideally, you're charging 2 to 3%. If you got a home run deal, you might charge 5% or something like that. You can charge an asset management fee, or they call a partnership management fee, usually 1 to 2% of the asset value. If you're going to do construction, you're going to oversee the construction, you can get maybe 5 to 8% construction oversight management fee. You can get the refinance fee. If you're going to refinance it at some point in time, you get a sales disposition fee on the back end. Well, there's types of fees you can take, but most people just take an acquisition fee and a partnership management fee.
Okay, excellent. And and what is your percentage of typically, I know it varies per deal, I'm sure, on your LPGP split, 70, 30, 80, 20?
It depends. Again, there's no one set rule. If you're new to the game and you're not putting any money in the game, if you can get 15, 20% of the back end, you're doing good. If you're going to put some money in, you got a really good deal. You could get up to 30%, 40%. Just depends on the deal, but that's kind of the range. I would say the average is you're going to get 25% of the back end, and you're going to get like no cash flow. You're going to give them preferred return of probably 7 to 8%. And then once you get going, you can start to manipulate that. But again, it comes down to the deal, and it comes down to the experience of the syndicator.
All right, and our final question is, can you define the difference between sophisticated and accredited investor?
Well, accredited investors are guys that have a net worth, right? The guys that are $1 million, not counting your house, income of $200,000. If you're single, $300,000. If you're married for last 2 years. Those are if you're not one of those guys, you're more of a sophisticated investor. So the Securities and Exchange Commission requires that those people get somebody that knows what they're talking about in the game, right? Taken to a financial planner, an advisor that can counsel them on the deal. That's the difference.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's all the questions. Thanks for we got through those an excellent amount of time. And Craig, great content. Everybody, please go check out his website, his boot camp. He's got some great value there for you. Book download, discounts for the boot camp. So definitely go check that out. And thanks, Craig, for joining us today. And we appreciate all your time.
Thank you, Brandon. One last thing. Anybody that has questions that we didn't get to, like I said, my email address is Craig, CRAIG, @valuehandacademy.com. Just send me an email. I'll guarantee I'll get back to you.
Excellent. Well, thanks again, Craig. And
thanks, Brandon.
Have a great rest of the day.
Okay. Good luck today.
All right. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. All right. We'll be taking a quick break, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.